was David Ruffin fired from the Temptations?
Well, you see, when we first started out, we made a vow that we would not change.
Have you ever wondered about the secrets lurking behind the glamorous facade of Motown's iconic group, the Temptations? Brace yourself, for we're about to delve into the shadows and unearth some scandalous details that have been buried for far too long. Picture this: the bright lights, the soulful melodies, and the mesmerizing dance moves. It's the epitome of Motown magic. But behind closed doors, whispers spread like wildfire, revealing tales of deception, betrayal, and untold struggles. From backstage drama to personal conflicts, the journey of the Temptations was far from smooth. Rumors have swirled for years about rifts within the group, shady dealings with record labels, and even whispers of infidelity. But why does Motown want us to forget? What are they hiding? Join us as we peel back the layers and uncover the truth behind the glitz and glamour. Get ready to be shocked, because the real story of the Temptations is nothing short of jaw-dropping.
And Barry started Motown, and Billy Davis and Anna Gordy was Anna Records.
First on our list is the turbulent life of David Ruffin. David Ruffin probably had the roughest childhood. Born Davis Eli Ruffin in Wynot, Mississippi, on January 18, 1941, the would-be soul legend lost his mother at a very early age and grew up in poverty. His father, Eli Ruffin, was reportedly an abusive man who made David and his siblings perform at churches as a singing group, and while his older siblings allegedly suffered physical abuse at the hands of the family patriarch, David and his brother Jimmy, later a successful solo singer in his own right, endeared themselves to their father through their vocal skills.
It's just a fear that builds within me.
David Ruffin was one of the original lead singers of the Temptations and sang tenor. He is widely regarded as one of the best tenor singers of all time for his unique, raspy tone. In 1989, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his work with the Temptations. As the group's charismatic lead singer during their rise to stardom, Ruffin's powerful voice helped catapult the Temptations to new heights. However, his success was marred by a severe drug addiction and increasingly erratic behavior. David's talent was undeniable, but his personal demons were a constant source of trouble. His addiction to coke and H spiraled out of control, leading to missed performances and violent outbursts. Motown tried to keep it under wraps, but it was impossible to hide. Ruffin would sometimes refuse to go on stage unless his demands were met, and his paranoia grew to the point where he insisted on traveling separately from the rest of the group. Ruffin's erratic behavior culminated in his firing from the group in 1968. Despite multiple attempts at rehabilitation and brief reunions with the Temptations, his struggles with addiction continued until his untimely death in 1991.
Mr. Paul Williams of the Temptations, here for the concert tonight. How are you, Paul?
Oh, fine, thank you. And you?
Next, we turn to the tragic story of Paul Williams. Known for his smooth baritone and impeccable dance moves, Williams was an integral part of the Temptations' success. But behind the scenes, he battled severe health issues and depression. During their earlier days as a group, Paul Williams was the only member of the Temptations who abstained from alcohol consumption. He would, in fact, lecture his bandmates about ruining their health whenever he'd catch them covertly drinking. That's why it's tragically ironic that Williams descended into alcoholism as the Temps began to enjoy massive success as one of Motown's most popular acts. According to Otis Williams in Temptations, Paul's drinking problem might have started when he entered an affair with a woman named Winnie Brown, who worked as the Supreme's hairstylist. Paul had married young and had 5 children, Otis wrote. He was devoted to his family but torn between them and Winnie. Before too long, Paul, who never took anything stronger than milk, started drinking.
For once, unafraid, I can go.
All in all, however, Otis Williams acknowledged in his book that it's hard to pinpoint an exact cause or driving factor for Paul Williams' problems with the bottle. But as he told Deseret News in 1998, it was difficult watching his bandmate develop a drinking problem almost out of nowhere. To see a guy come from drinking milk to drinking sometimes 2 to 3/5 of Courvoisier a day, that was kind of hard to take, he said. Williams suffered from sickle cell anemia, which caused him chronic pain and fatigue. Coupled with alcoholism and depression, his condition worsened over the years. On August 17, 1973, Williams was found dead in an alley in Detroit. His death was ruled AS, but the circumstances remain shrouded in mystery and controversy. Paul's death was a devastating blow to the group and to those who knew him. There were so many unanswered questions about his final days. Some believe there was more to the story than just S. He was struggling, yes, but there were signs that he was turning things around. The truth about what happened that night might never be fully known.
After at Westbury Music Fair, we're speaking with Mel, the bass singer of The Temptations, the one with the very low voice.
Good evening. How you doing, Bill?
Okay, Mel. Mel, how did The Temptations first get together?
The third member of The Temptation was Melvin Franklin. He joined The Temptations in 1964, singing bass. His nickname in the band was Blue. In the late 60s, Franklin was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, but continued working with the band. His use of cortisone to treat his RA caused him to develop diabetes in the 80s. In 1978, he was shot multiple times while trying to prevent his car from being stolen. Melvin Franklin, the Temp's longtime bass singer, who at that point had been with the group since its inception, died on February 23, 1995, at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles at the age of 52. His cause of death was listed as heart failure, though his condition was also exacerbated by diabetes.
Never sailed the sea.
If Columbus never sailed the
If
sea.
Longfellow never.
Toward the end of his eponymous Temptations biography, Williams looked back on the death of his best friend of more than 3 decades, offering a short but touching tribute to their many years as buddies and bandmates. I loved all the Temptations like brothers, but it was Melvin who had stood shoulder to shoulder with me through the good times and the bad, Williams wrote. After Eddie died, there were 2 surviving original members, and that meant that Melvin and I each had someone who could understand who we were and how we felt. There were many things between Melvin and me that didn't even need to be said.
Because I was living in the place where Miss Rosa Parks, made that final stand.
The fourth person is Eddie Kendricks, joined the Temptations in 1964, singing tenor. He is best known for his unique falsetto style of singing. He was a lead singer from 1964 until 1971. He also recorded several hits as a solo artist in the early 1970s. Kendricks created most of the Temptations' vocal arrangements and also served as the fashion designer for the band. Kendricks co-wrote many of the Temptations' hits with the band's first producer, Norman Whitfield. In the late 1960s, Kendricks felt a separation from the group and the new style of psychedelic music influenced by new producer Smokey Robinson. He started having disagreements with other band members and officially left the band in April 1971. He started his solo career with Motown Records after leaving the Temptations. By the early 90s, Kendricks' health problems began to escalate, and he had one of his lungs removed in 1991, later warning young people not to smoke as he had been doing for the past 3 decades or so. The singer was 52 years old when he passed away from lung cancer on October 5, 1992, at a hospital in his hometown of Birmingham, Alabama. Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown Record Company in Detroit, based his company on the idea of delivering music which would be wide-appealing, non-threatening with maximum crossover into all cultures of America. In order to do so, he hired the most talented and gifted writers and producers, along with exceptional singers and performers. The Temptations became one of the most versatile, entertaining male vocal groups in Motown. The Temptations formed in 1961 by the merging of 2 Detroit groups, The Primes, Eddie Kendricks, Paul Williams, and The Distance, Otis Williams, Elbridge Bryant, Melvin Franklin, under the name The Elgins, prior to changing their name to The Temptations. They signed on to Motown on its subsidiary label, Miracle. Only one of their songs, Dream Come True, had any commercial success in 1962. In 1964, Elbridge Bryant attacked Paul Williams after a Christmas review show and left the group a short time thereafter. This was the beginning of the many changes in personnel that plagued the group. Luckily, this first change brought success on board when David Ruffin signed on. David Ruffin brought an extraordinary amount of charisma to the group, along with a deep, passionate style of singing, which contrasted perfectly with the high, nearly falsetto voice of Eddie Kendricks. His voice was so compelling that artists such as Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones studied it and eventually made a cover of the 1966 Temptations' single, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. Along with the recruitment of David Ruffin, Smokey Robinson became the writer and producer behind many of their early hits. The greatest gift that Smokey gave the group was the song My Girl in 1965. This single made #1 on both the U.S. R&B and pop charts. During the years of 1966-1968, the Temptations continued to remain on the top 10 charts with songs such as Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Beauty's Only Skin Deep, You're My Everything, and I Wish It Would Rain. What fans may not realize is the extent of the internal conflicts and management decisions that led to this revolving door of members. From 1961 to the present day, over 20 different singers have been part of the Temptations. This constant turnover was often due to clashes of egos, creative differences, and personal issues. Each member brought something unique to the group, but that also meant there were often strong personalities at play. Tensions would flare, and it wasn't uncommon for members to be abruptly replaced. Temptations have seen it all, and it's quite an impressive feat that despite all those personal and professional hurdles, they've been entertaining audiences longer than most people have been alive. So with all that out of the way, let's look at the more tragic stories from the Temptations' 6+ decade history. Out of all the members of the Temptations' classic 1960s lineup, while the Temptations had their share of challenges and controversies, Motown typically focused on promoting their positive image and musical success rather than publicizing scandalous or tragic stories.